What's one thing you have no doubt about?
One thing I have no doubt about is that there is a God, that God lives
And physical or spirit?
in spirit.
I know it's God's favor for the position I'm in. And all them losses took the toll, so now I savor my wins. I work with niggas I looked up to, now they hate on my pen. And I can't explain these transitions and these phases I'm in.
Y'all already know what time it is, man. Y'all know it's time for us to shout out our Black-owned brand of the day. And it just so happens I'm already on the 621 Mobile Barber Lounge with owner and operator, Mr. Donnell Young.
This is Donnell Young. We're on 621 Mobile Barbering Lounge. You can find me on IG at 621 Mobile Barbering Lounge or Don the Barber. We service anywhere from Baltimore to Waldorf, La Plata area, even in Virginia. So come check us out. Check us out on the internet. We're at 621mobile.org. Check out our website. Check out our advertising opportunities. Come check us out. We'll be happy to have you.
Y'all heard it here first, man. This is family. Tap in with your local barber at 621 Mobile Barber Lounge. Enjoy the show. So you say God lives in spirit. Can you explain that?
I just kind of go back to my recollection of my first encounter with having faith and of knowing of God's presence. Um, it was back when we were doing AAU when I was younger, and my parents always talked about how we didn't have any money. So we would always have a whole campaign every summer to prepare for nationals. Nationals might have been 400 a person for the family, but we out there every Friday with buckets, wrapping up pennies and wrapping up nickels, dimes, and quarters.
Yeah.
Every Friday as a family, just to raise money to go out there, and it happened every year. Like it made a way every year. Probably went 3 or 4 years, and there wasn't a doubt that we were going to be able to go to nationals at the end of the year.
And so that's where your faith in God, your connection, first began.
I would say so, because I think around that time is when I gave myself to Christ.
How old were you at that point?
I was 7. It was January 1st, 1995. My dad told me always to remember. Yes, sir. I'm glad I do remember.
Appreciate the cut, by the way. I need that. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all know where to go now. Y'all know where I go to look good, man. So tap in. But no, on a serious note, you said your father, my grandfather. I'm just go ahead and let y'all know right now, related. This is my uncle talking to. But you said your father always told you to remember the date that you were, you gave your life to Christ. And so from then on, Grandpa is a pastor. Has been for a while. And what was the dynamic of the household growing up?
It was under strict rule coming up. It felt like we were always in the church, but he started us in church in like 1990, so I'm 3 years old, so
Right.
always in church. So we grew up in the church, but he really took on this whole strict boundaries. Like it was a stringent lifestyle as far as in the house and rules, but it's kind of what we needed. He had 4 boys, so that was the way he knew to raise us, so that we wouldn't depart from it. And for the most part, we didn't go too far. So I embraced it eventually.
So I mean, we call you Don. I call you Don. Really more like a older brother than an uncle. But like, who is Donnell Young? For those who don't know.
Donnell Young, first of all, I'm a husband of my wife, Kendra. Um, Father to my kids, to my daughters, Kyra and Kari. Um, I'm a barber. I'm a man of God. Um, and I'm as far as like business wise goes, I'm a creative mind. I would say I'm always thinking forward, thinking about the next move, thinking about how to collaborate with others. That's what I've come to. But yeah, in a nutshell.
So I mean, we're gonna get into all that, but
Yeah.
first, how did you have a mobile barber lounge, right? You started in the shop, and you did some other things before becoming a barber. So kind of walk us through that journey of how you got here. Definitely experienced a lot of success, and I've seen it from I was 11 when you was born. So I mean, well, you was 11 when I was born. So I done seen a lot from a standpoint of from when I can remember to you know hoping that you was coming to the house. When I got older and played the game and all that, but just from moving out to seeing you have a job and doing those other things, and moving with Kendra and all of that. So how does that journey take us through that journey from going to school, not finishing school, and how that affected you and transpired to where you are today?
So when you look at the whole journey so far, it's been a lot of lessons learned. I started from the first lesson of barbering. I tried to give myself a temp fade and ended up with a baldy because in 10th grade. And I don't even remember how high up I got on the fade, but I know I gave up at some point. And my 10th grade yearbook picture was a bald head. Um, and so from there, I was shaping my friends up in the bathroom sometimes with the haircut clippers. Um, but, and they just asked, "Hey Don, let me get a shape up. Don, let me get a shape up." And never really took it serious, but just always didn't mind designing shape ups. Um, so that led to college and going to college. I thought I was going to be a CPA, and I had an academic scholarship and all that. And went up there, went to Morgan State. Didn't do the right thing. Didn't have the right study habits.
Yeah.
And but I continued barbering in the dorms up there, cutting on Fridays and Saturdays before people went home for the weekend, and just to come up $3 shape ups with my cousin's clippers, and I would give him and his roommate free haircut, free shape ups. Still just shaping up though. And then 2010, I got some. No, 2008, I got some masters, some haircutting clippers. So it was my first pair, and I thought those could do no wrong. And I was barber on wheels, $10 haircuts, cutting in people's garages, um, kitchens, and still cutting my friends, still cutting and shaping them up, especially when we go out or if we're down at JMU for a weekend. Don, let me get a shape up. Don, let me get a shape up. All right, I got you. Give me a sec. And just, I guess, constantly building that reputation of having the clippers. You bring the clippers? Hey, make sure you bring the clippers. And never really took it that much serious because I had a government job. I had an office job. So I kind of looked at barbering like it was a side thing and looked at it like that for a while, even until I got into the barbershop in 2010. And the owner of the shop, my good man Drew, Shout out Elite Barbering Service. That's the home. That's the home base right there. I cut there for 10 years. And Drew and all the barbers, Jeff, Sticks, Shannon, Meatball, all the barbers in there meant a lot in my growth. And can't forget Lopez, can't leave Lopez, homie Twan. Got homies in there, brothers. So that's what you build in the barbershop. You build brotherhoods. And through that, we hit the pandemic, and I wanted to give my clients a different experience. But I didn't want to go into another group of guys and build out bonds again. And I wanted to be on my own. Didn't want to go into a suite. And we were doing house calls during the pandemic. People were paying a good amount of money for haircuts. And my clients, I'm like, they got good jobs, man. I need to bring them a nice experience, a barbering experience, more than what I was providing at the time. So that's how we got to this, through the good old government giving away all that economic injury disaster loans that they were giving out, PPPs, legit PPPs, and unemployment. That helped us out during that time. I just saved my money up and bought the bus. Started seeking out the bus. I said I wanted to do it. My wife told me before, looked her off. Me and my uncle had a talk, and it made way more sense to me when me and my wife talked about it for some reason. She gonna get on me for that. And finally made the purchase in December 2020, and fixed it up. It was a parking shuttle, the shuttle that takes you from the parking lot at the airport to the terminal. And it had a luggage rack right there, had two seat rows, two on each side, and a bench in the back. And it was a bus. It was a shuttle bus. And gutted it out as much as I could. Did the floors, did the futon, the barber station. Did what I could, save a little bit of money, and had a carpentry company come fix it up, built the walls and the storage units in the back. And May 2021, got on the road, and I left the barbershop. It was a tough move. Still miss the guys, but this has opened up a lot of doors, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah. And when you say it's opened up a lot of doors, like I know you work with schools, you have contracts, and you do things like that. So talk about a little bit about that and how that's even expanded over the last few years.
Well, over the last 3.5 years now, I've been servicing schools in I wouldn't say they're low income areas, but they are need based schools where the schools have budgets for community based programs, and it's really been helping out the families and the communities. Parents are now relying on my barbering services to suffice for the kids' grooming needs. They're not going to the barbershops anymore. I'm cutting sometimes principals at those schools, building a lot of relationships at the schools, and in the areas around the schools now I'm doing community days in neighborhoods, and I'm doing different nonprofit events, and just able to give back more and reach out to the community like I feel like I'm being called to do.
And was that intentional at the time when you first started it because it was a community-based, or you were just looking for other ways to make money outside of your current, clientele?
Looking for ways to have a bigger impact outside of my clients. I always got to keep them happy, but wanted to have more of a community impact, and that's the route that I started on, and it's been going well.
And since then, has anything else transpired, like to anything you want to expand on with the kids? Like, I know we talk about mentorship a few times and what that looks like, but, how has that impact and you seeing them being reliant on your services and them wanting and now depending on you and not going to their other barbers, like how has that transpired to, the thought of furthering your dynamic and your relationship with those schools, those kids, those individuals you come across?
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why we're here today, because we are kind of aligned in the same direction as far as the next few years for both of us. And I think we both are focused on mentorship, and that's the way I'm headed and transitioning into in that county. I actually spoke to a representative who was a principal at my first school that I had a contract work out there, and he basically put it in my hand and said it's up to me whether I want to, how many schools I want to service, because it's a need for mentorship in those areas. So I said, I guess I'm barking up the right tree, and I guess that's the calling, and just following, just continuing to do the work, and it's leading you into your passion.
Yeah.
Just keep expanding on that.
Yeah, like, I guess circling back into, sitting in that chair right there, like you have many people of all ages, races, even genders, right?
Mm-hmm.
You cut females there as well.
Yeah.
How does that feel? Like, once you give that haircut, right? And you come in here and somebody has had a day and it's just, talking to you. A lot of the times, we, like growing up, we look forward to Fridays, because I used to go to the barbershop on Fridays, when it was out of my control when I get there. And Fridays, it's like, man, that's the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you grow to really love being in the chair. You love sitting on the road, looking at the barbers, waiting, on your turn. Time goes by fast because you're not even focused on the game or whatever you got going on. You're just happy to be in the shop. At least I was.
Yeah.
So, what is
experience.
that connection that you have? I guess that feeling that you get, not just, doing something that makes you money, but being a form of therapy for men and women and children alike that get in your chair.
Yeah, it's I heard what's his name, 3D on Dennis Scott. He did a special, and he was talking. I didn't know he was from DC area either, but he was talking about, he did a special in the barbershop, and he was saying that the barbershop is like the heartbeat of the community, and from working in there, you really see how resourceful the barbershop is for the community. People come in there for so many reasons outside of the haircut.
Yeah.
And barbers have to own that. And starting this mobile unit, I had to kind of create that for my clients. And even though it's more intimate in here, we get on some one-on-one topics, and it's still that form of therapy for them. They are able to almost like freely open up, because it is just me and them here in that time. And sometimes it gets rushed because I'm on a time schedule. So when another client comes in at the end of that, and we're not finished that thought of that convo, it's like, oh man, now we got to be neutral a little bit, talk about sports or something.
Yeah.
But definitely starting to be more intentional and in those times where people are vulnerable and opening up and looking for that. Just that little drop that they look to you for, and that you might not notice, but I've noticed it, and I'm embracing it. I really appreciate, even from the kids that I'm cutting. I'm at alternative schools.
Yeah.
And in those alternative schools, we got all types of kids. So we have troubled house dynamics. You don't know. Kids are raising themselves at 12, 13.
Yeah.
So they come in, had a guy today telling me about his dad, and I was just amazed how, just our second haircut, and how open he is with the barber. And once they feel that relativity between the two, and they trust you, and it's all that is built in barbering. It's trust, for starters. It's definitely trust, because you have to be trusted for anybody's hairline.
Yes.
Yeah,
For
and
sure that.
I used to be able to tell you about that.
Not no more. Mr. Clean.
Yeah, longer the days.
But I mean, you talk about vulnerability and kind of transitioning back on you, and not just how you make others feel, but you know, you're a human too, right? You got a responsibility as a barber, you got a responsibility as a father, and you got a responsibility as a husband. So how do you transition into one, receiving all of that or giving all of that, but also looking to receive that? And as much as you got to give your clients, you got to give your children and your wife. So explain how that takes a toll on you, has an effect on you, and how you're able to make it and still operate.
Well, it's a lot. For one, you gotta exercise. You gotta keep the blood flow going. You gotta kind of put yourself in some pressure situations. You have to. It's like you gotta simulate life in a way. You gotta kind of like hot saunas. Like the hot yoga just changed my life. First time doing it, and it was like so challenging. It was so mentally strengthening, stimulating, exhausting, all that. But at the same time, you look at it like life. You can't give up. You're the man. You're the protector. You everybody's on your back. So I just keep doing things outside of work that are challenging. I like to run. I like to run long distance. And when I run, I want to run hard. I want to push myself. I feel like I'm training. People ask, "What you training for?" Don't even have a goal right now. I do have a goal, but I'm not training for a race.
Sounds like you're an adrenaline junkie, like you still like a little kid.
I want to be 19 for as long as I can. I want to feel like it. I want to look like it. I want to be as youthful as I can. So aiming, striving for that, as well as providing for the family and providing for my clients. I have to carve out that time to be a kid or to be me.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, exercising. I love the Celtics. I go see my Celtics. I just go to Boston for a day or two.
He cried when they won. He cried when they won. I just want y'all to know that.
Real tears. Real tears. When Marcus Smart got cut, my goodness. Real tears. How could you ever?
Yeah.
But yeah, those things, and even watching the Celtics, I'm sorry, but watching the Celtics 3-4 times a week helps me escape. My family doesn't even talk to me during the Celtics game. It's that real. And it's, why are you asking me to do that right now? The game is on. Please wait. So, gotta find things to keep you centered with yourself and to keep your mind strengthened, because life is challenging.
Yeah.
It requires a lot. And you got to kind of challenge yourself on your own so that you're ready for life. That's how I approach it.
You mentioned like being intentional, like putting pressure on yourself and putting yourself in pressure environments and trying new things, and kind of lets you being an adrenaline junkie and saying like you want to be 19 as long as you can. But through growth comes pressure, being uncomfortable. So what are some things that right now make you uncomfortable, that are challenging you to grow and challenging you to build on to what's next in life?
My wife? Nah, really, I would say she has a big role in it though, because a good woman will test you and keep you sharp, challenge your thoughts, challenge your decision making. Um, so it kind of like prompts you to be on your toes and to have a plan for what you're doing. To go back to your question, what's your question again?
Like, what's challenging you to be uncomfortable right now? What's one thing or some things that are making you uncomfortable?
So right now I'm at a point in life and in my career and adulthood where expenses are equaling
The income.
the income. And it's and I feel like I've gained a good amount of income to sustain the lifestyle, but it's at a time where I need to make a move to create cash flow.
Mm.
And for me, it's a bold step because it'll mean taking from borrowing from an asset that we had. So it's a bold step. So you need a plan.
Mm.
So that's what I've learned through having anxiety, entering into different um, phases.
Yeah.
Is that plan helps with anxiety
Mm.
and helps in execution.
Right. So you saying basically you haven't always been one to have a plan.
Right. Been a lot of decisions made off of impulse, off just how you felt at the moment. Uh, Probably being immature in those times, a lot younger, sometimes older, made some impulsive decisions as well.
And now that you have your plans and specifically with the finances, right? And you said borrowing from an asset. What does that mean? Like, can you expand on, I guess, what your possible plans are with what you're willing to share, but what specifically is making you uncomfortable? Like, for example, for me, getting into different um, understanding insurance and how to leverage that, what real estate looks like. These are things that I wouldn't say more make me uncomfortable, but these are things that I realize that I have to do. And I'm already doing so much. So for me, it's more where can I fit this in and what's priority, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? What input is going to give me the largest output in the past? Because for me, I've done a lot and done nothing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've reduced my workload and being able to spread myself so thin that I've been able to figure out what's serving me and what's not. And so I guess for me, what's making me uncomfortable is making those decisions as to what's high priority, along with what am I called here to do. How can I be efficient and make the most of my time. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that is I'm enjoying that. It's not necessarily making me uncomfortable, but I'm enjoying it
That
because I
process.
know that, we have conversations. I'll watch something and I'll see something and I'll, tell you, what I think about the process. And, there's been a few things that I come to you and be like, hey, this is the next one right here. This is what I'm working on. And so some of those things are, down the pipeline and I'm definitely working in the process of some of those things right now. But, that's to come, but it's, not about me, but it's, like, I guess more so those particular things that are kind of pushing your button, you know, maybe with some conversations with your wife or with Kendra. I keep saying your wife like that's strange, but like some conversations with Kendra, like specifically, I guess, what's something that's a focus of yours financially or investment wise right now?
Well, still a novice in learning about what I know about HELOCs,
Mm-hmm.
but still a novice in actually um, refine HELOCs, playing that game, getting on better credit terms, consolidating debt, using HELOC to unlock some doors with investments,
Yeah.
opportunities, um, and it's all off the like I said, the asset that we already have put into, um, and it's just having a concrete plan. So as you can see, I don't have a concrete plan for it. So it's for me, like you said, workload and everything, prioritizing. I need a team. I need help to help generate this plan. So we have people in our corners that can help us out. So we just need to sit down and think who we can bring to the table with us. And we have about 3, 4 folk that we've been talking closely to about what we want to do with that HELOC, and when we should apply for it. And but we still got to work out some kinks, because it's for me. I feel like it's life changing. Like I say, this is the put my this change our lives for real.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking maybe some tax lien properties, and with those at the bare minimum, if somebody pays it, you pay the tax, you pay for the tax. I think it's a bond or something you get, but you pay for that, and during that process, it's a redemption period. They they either pay their taxes or they don't during that redemption period. If they don't, the worst that you are left with is interest on your money. So it's like a safe harbor for your money. So I want to get a couple of those, do my research on those, because each state has a different um, tax sale. So it's just stepping into different industries, like you said, and prioritizing. Feel like we're in the same boat with that.
Yeah. I feel like the moral of the story is like it's really a lot of money to be made. And it's a lot of money out here to be made, and a lot of times we box ourselves in, especially as African American men and women. Like we're just limited. Um, we're not limited of capability. We're limited to thought because we haven't provoked that thought. It's learned behavior that we can only do but so much. And I think time and time again when I think about it, and I think about our culture, and I think about us and how we act, we treat each other, how we go about life. Sometimes it gets frustrating. And I think it's frustrating not because I'm only focusing on those individuals, because obviously, we're here for a reason. I see a definition of success in front of me, but there is rooms where I walk in and I'm just like, why is this our conversation? Why are we not? It's okay. I feel like it's okay to sound dumb when we're attempting to do better for one of ourselves. Meaning, like, just be vulnerable and say, man, I have no idea. But point me to an article, point me to a book, point me to a class, point me like how can I be different to change my situation?
Yeah.
And with transitioning into that is like, how do you feel about us as a people and where we're going? Because to your point about these different financial ventures, there's people out there that can help. There's resources out there that can help. There's things that you're building in the background. But I'm not gonna say this is everybody, but a good amount of people that we're around will rather sit here and either be entitled to the bare minimum or entitled to somebody gonna come around here and make a change for us, and I'm gonna get my reparations, and I'm gonna just be handed another version of an unemployment check.
Looking for handouts.
Yeah. So, what is your thoughts on, I guess, us as a people and the dynamics and rooms and spaces that you've been in, and how we can be better?
That's a large question. Just multifaceted, but I overall I like where the black race, the black culture is going. That means like the older black race. In the networking events I've been to, it's been a lot of good feedback. It's been a lot of resources. It's a lot available to us. We really just have to tap in, put your neck out there, rub some shoulders. So I'm inspired by that. But I am drawn back at the younger generation and how they are influenced. And it's crazy to think that our parents looked at us like we was the crazy ones, and what we would listen to was crazy. The younger generation, to me, is disappointing in a way, because they have so many skills. They come up with these big schemes to commit a lot of crimes, but we don't collaborate to build anything. We don't own anything in this nation. And it's every new story headline come out about uh, a teenager committing a crime or a group of teenagers committing a crime, and you, it's disheartening because you know where the influence is coming from. It's coming from the rap music, so it's like it's been trickled down into the next decision makers, and it's almost wiping them out as far as productivity, because they're going to just be killing each other off. A lot of kids that I talk to, 16-year-old, don't are surprised to make it to 16. And I'm playing football at 16. I'm not thinking about life and death situation. So it's different out here for people, and we all need a big hug because we need to come together, and we need to get some black excellence going, and some black economics going. We need to we need to keep the money in the Black community is what I feel. Like mobile barbershops, strip malls, Black businesses. We need to keep the money in all the moms and pop services. We need to, because that's the way that Black people are able to provide quality goods and services by constant flow of I'm looking for a word, but it's not coming. But just
You look like grandpa right now.
but they need constant support. And it will help if it will come from the ones that look like us, the ones that we come up with, the ones in our neighborhood. Because we definitely go run downtown to take our money to anybody else's stores in a heartbeat as soon as we get paid.
But what about, like, I know, and I noticed when I first started, right, I started Doubt of Success because, you know, I wanted to focus on African American men and women. And that's still, you know, the goal, and that's still our focus because, you know, I want to help those that look like me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to create teams and connections and networks with those that look like me to further impact those that look like me. But I oftentimes, over the time, I realized that there are allies that don't look like us that have the resources to be able to support us. And I feel like, you know, through my journey, I went away from that, not by me feeling any type of way versus somebody who's not Black. But it was just more like I want to see us, you know, just us. But we aren't going to be able to get it done by just us. And I think that that's something big to mention and acknowledge, that we need allies. We need people who are in rooms that we aren't in. And, you know, by getting that support, I think that will help us getting that support and changing how we think about other races. You know, another person that I had on, like, he said, we need to acknowledge the race. He said, not avoid Black, white, Asian, you know, Hispanic, but embrace all
difference.
Because the differences is what makes the world, makes us who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, despite the past, you know, can't forget about the past, where we came from, how we were treated. Much be aware of that, but understand that every single culture, every single, you know, dynamic in this, not even just country, in this world, has some type of trauma or has some type of past,
some
history.
Yeah.
And so embracing that allows us to understand each other. But I think it starts with our mentality. We've become victims in our own right, and it's gotten in the way. It's gotten in the way of our success. It's gotten in the way of,
we don't trust each other.
Yeah.
And like I said, even with barbering, it starts with trust. It starts with trust. Going to school, I come back one year from a June to a August, September visit, and dude looking at me like, "You the same barber as last time?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the same dude." He said, "You look a little darker." I'm like, "No, I'm the same dude." Like, they remember the guy that they trusted. So trust to me goes a long way. You walk past somebody, you look back to see if they're doing anything. We need to get in the rooms. And that's one thing that hit me today actually, was how to build trust in the younger generation, which prompted me to put in my notepad, let's start looking up trust building exercises for teens, or just Google it. AI help you out. Whatever it is, it's probably on YouTube.
Yeah.
But that's where I am, building trust first. And I think once we trust each other, that'll help arms to be able to lock and be able to build some things.
Yeah. Speaking of trust, I mean, you got two girls, right? They're two Black girls, young Black girls, who are gonna grow up into what we could consider and do consider a crazy world, right? Doesn't play fair. You know, there's a lot of vulnerability with them, you know, being females, being young. And I'm not a parent, but I've, have friends that are parents. You're a parent, I get to babysit, and I just get to hear stories, like even babysitting, right? Even that can be tricky, and just being able to trust somebody to watch your child. Um, Kind of talk about that and what you want, what you experience as a parent, as a black parent, for your children, and what you see in the schools, and then what you want to instill in them, so that I'm not gonna say have no worries, but less worries, so that you can raise a generation that is unlike. I'm not gonna say unlike, because not all of the younger generation is that, but you're just highlighting the things that you see in the environments in which you're in, but how they can be a reflection of you, and acknowledge their generation, acknowledge the people around them, but still maintain a sense of self, a sense of being, and to be able to make the right decisions, and ultimately look out for one another and keep each other safe.
And it's kind of the sense of community is not the same as it was when we were younger. So kind of trying to create that for them, with all the god kids that we have, and the nieces and nephews. Um, that's her or their community. Um, we get them around kids that they don't know to learn how to make friends. They go to school with children from all different races. Um, that wasn't the case for us. It was mainly black people in our school, maybe one or two people from other races in the class, maybe school, maybe a handful of people in the whole elementary school. So just have to keep working on their exposure, keep exposing them to different things. But as far as raising them and what I would like for them to be and what I want to instill in them, I just want them to be self-sufficient, respectable young ladies. I want them to attract a certain type of man. I want them to attract a responsible, well-mannered guy. So I have to teach them what that looks like. I have to continue to date them. Have to love up on mom, even when times are heated. They have to see dad's compassion. I got to show empathy. I got to show understanding with them because they're emotional. I don't understand the emotions, and I have to. It's just a lot of learning that goes on, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't have it any other way. Um, my father-in-law says he can't wait till somebody comes to my house and say, "What's up, pops?" And I'm not looking forward to that at all. But I want to prepare my ladies. I want to prepare them as much as I can for the world. But it's going to be a lot of learning outside of daddy time. So I want them to be best armored, physically, mentally, spiritually, for what the world has for them, and let them know it's not forgiving. It's not gonna. It's not gonna give you hugs. It's not gonna hand you anything. You really gotta be assertive and responsible and accountable. So just putting principles in them daily, and hopefully they're sticking. I'm sure over time, with repetition, things will stick. Like things have stuck with me and my father and my mom, the values and that they put into us. So,
And circling back, and you talking about the world. Um, you just mentioned it. You mentioned how did you? What was the phrase you used? You said the world is what?
not forgiving.
Not forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
You learned a lot of lessons. What were some of the lessons that you learned along the way, that kind of prepared you for this? I mean, I know I can name a few that I'm thinking about specifically, but like working with the government and what that looked like, how you got let go from that opportunity, and then how did that transition into prepping you to be an entrepreneur?
So that was like a reality check for me because, like I told you, might have mentioned it earlier that I was working part time as a barber. So I was working professionally for about what's that? Oh 07, oh no 05, 05 for about 9 years, and part-time barber for about 7 of those years, 6, 7 of those years. So um, I was working there. I didn't do my student part. It was a student job. I didn't do the student part, and I got let go. And um, extremely disappointing because I kind of um, saw myself as a government employee. Like I kind of identified as a. That's how I carried myself. I thought that had some esteem to it. So I felt a certain way about myself because I was a government employee, and then the rubber hit the road, and I had to really rely on my own. And I was scared. I didn't think I could. Like, how am I making on barber? I wasn't making any much money at all when I got let go. So it really had the work ethic that was instilled. Really had to kick into gear, and that's when you start going, start opening up the shop, and you start cleaning up the shop, and you start walking around the neighborhood passing out flyers. Um, my parents had a shoe store. My uncles had a shoe store when we were younger, when you were born. Actually, like the year you were born. um, so just the work ethic that you saw in your family dynamic, and what they pumped into you, and how your uncles and your father, the expectations they held and the standards they held for you. Um, so I think I got off on a tangent, um, but all that had to kick in. And I had to be mindful of what I was capable of. Um, and I had just gotten married when I got let go. Um, so it was a lot mentally going on right there. So um, fortitude was needed, and it was some trying times. It was some humbling times for sure. Um, Plenty of times when you're coming up short on bills, being responsible um, uh, with prioritizing your money during the month. Um, it was a whole lot of learning and growing that had to take place. I think it had to take place because it was a lot of times where opportunities came about and I wasn't prepared. So father can always say if doing the same thing and expecting different results is insanity. Or another word that he used at the end of that, but it just doesn't make sense that you keep doing the same thing and expecting to get something different from it. And those were just lessons that I learned along the way, and it helped me out a lot.
And mentioning those lessons and those life lessons learned over my life, over my time period, over the course of my life, things have changed. My mentality has changed. My thoughts of success have changed. I used to look one way. I used to think money was it. Money would define my success. And that's changed, right? It's no longer about the money. It's about the impact. And oftentimes I'll do something and I'll be like, dang, how can I do this? Like, I don't really want to do this. I don't feel like doing this anymore. But that thought doesn't last. I think it doesn't last because that's something I'm supposed to be doing. And something I'm supposed to be doing is creating that impact. So talking about success, right? This is Doubt of Success is the brand I started, right? Based on hearing the things that we can and can't do. But there's a lot of us that are out here doing things at a high level. And so, what's your definition of success? How do you define success? What's it look like for you?
Man, of course, I used to think success was always this big house type of ideal, having family, and um, I thought I was going to be a CPA. That was the dream. Uh, so success was like a cloudy image back in the day. I didn't know how. I didn't know what it looked like back in the day. But now success to me looks like a house on the water. I need a boat, a little boat. I would definitely feel more, not accomplished, but I would feel, I guess, closer to success if I living on the water comfortably, have cash flow coming in, um, have businesses um, that my daughters can have an option to continue to run. Hopefully not sell, but just something for the future, the generation behind me and the generation behind them. If I can be instrumental in planting that first seed of something to obtain or something to maintain, not obtain.
And do you feel like, we all can talk about success. We can talk about what we want things to look like and, our vision board and dream board and all this, but how much of that is baked into your everyday? Like how much of that are you walking the walk versus talking the talk?
So that's the thing. You have to be mindful of what you say because when you start talking about things that you want to do, people gonna start holding you to that standard. So a lot of what I say is what I'm doing, and just spoke about it earlier. Can't really tell everybody your every step of the way, all your plans. You just have to keep doing the work every day, and you don't feel like you're doing the work. A lot of times, you might feel like just let it get to you, and get you in your emotions, but you're doing the work, and you just have to be steadfast in that and knowing that you're doing the work.
Is there a timetable for you? Like, do you have you set a time frame in your head that, at a certain age or a certain point, I need to have this or else I've, failed myself?
No, I'm kind of just looking out at different people who, I guess, who have obtained a certain amount of wealth or whatever. Most people don't get into their jam until they're like 40s, up in the 40s. Well, in the 40s, past that, at least 40. So, like I said, just doing the work. Um, and just know your time is coming. Got to be prepared for when your time comes. Um, and a lot of that is like um, your capability statement, like what have you done in the past, your past performance, like all that is like your resume for the future. So that's what we're on, just building yourself up so that you are able to take advantage.
Yeah. I mean, and I think this journey is amazing. It's something that we can fall in love with, or you can fall out of love with and stop you from getting to your point. I think it's one of the things of resilience. It's not going to be easy. Success isn't easy. All the things we dream about, all the things we see on TV, constant misconception of real life. But I often, I look at things, I find things that gravitate to me that are positive towards my goal. Obviously aware of all the things that could possibly happen, but staying solution driven, being forward thinking, and understanding that you only got to win once. Like you're gonna take a lot of L's, and I saw something on another podcast where they were talking about, yeah, I want to be around people where we know how to lose, right? We know how to lose together. I don't want to be around people where we're consistently winning because we don't know what it's like to lose. And I got to worry about if we take a L, what you got going on, if it's going to be some type of resistance, is there going to be some pushback? Are we going to overcome adversity? So I think, the key is just continue to have conversations like this. Surround yourself with people that are going where you're going, regardless of age. I think that we all have some type of value or perspective to add. And as long as we're open to receiving that, and that we're not all knowing. Only person that knows what's going on is God, really. And so just continue to pour in and those daily deposits. And, I have no doubt that that's where we're headed. So definitely appreciate the time, appreciate the wisdom, the vulnerability of sharing, your life, with not just me but others, but specific to me. Just to let everybody know, like definitely been somebody that I looked up to, my whole life, and a testament to, what a man is and how we can attain the things that we want to, and just kind of just being outward thinking, right? Just, kind of that adrenaline that you seek when you're trying new things and wanting to be fresh and, 19 again, but it's also being receptive to new perspectives, new things that are happening around you, and finally hearing it for so long and it's got to click, and then being able to share it with me. A lot of the first things that I've ever done for the first time, I've been with you, and I think that, if we all can, have a role model or a someone to look up to, whether that be a father, or uncle, a cousin, a brother, whatever the case may be. I think we need more of that. And so, a lot of this and creating this space for people is from the impact that you've had on me. So definitely want to give you your flowers while you're here. And
Appreciate you.
Pray that God continue to bless the both of us in the space that we're going, currently where our feet are and where we're going to be. So appreciate y'all.
No problem.
And,
I do want to add, if I can leave your guest, I'm not your guest, but if I can leave your audience with something,
for sure.
it's continue to challenge yourself, and don't be afraid to get in rooms or to get in conversations with people that are smarter than you, or that you perceive to be smarter than you, because it is intimidating to get in those conversations. It's intimidating to get face to face with people where you lack confidence in a certain subject matter. So challenge yourselves to. We all should challenge ourselves to get in those uncomfortable situations and get better in those uncomfortable situations, because that's the only way you're able to assess where you are, is through testing yourself at a higher level. So you gotta keep testing yourself in those ways, and don't be afraid to get in those rooms, for sure.
Appreciate the knowledge.
No problem.
All right.
Out of success, baby.
I'm counting blessings more than people counting sheep in they sleep. And they don't make it where I'm from, and I'm so thankful it's me.